Hello, this is Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. This is Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. We are so happy with our special guest who is visiting us again today. He is Daniel Stevem Kleinman, and he is running for the Chicago School Elected Board.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Nice
Thank
to have you back.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful.
There are so many developments that are happening in your race. For instance, Mayor Brandon Johnson recently wrote a letter to Illinois State Senate President Don Harmon saying that the 2021 school board legislation clearly communicated to interested parties the timeline and structure of the initial elections, thereby informing their plans for participations. This includes a phased-in elected board. The original 2021 election was a compromise, establishing a hybrid board before transitioning to a fully elected one. What were the two sides before the compromise, Daniel?
Yes, thank you. That is a great question. It's a history lesson is what it is. I know I started to get involved in the elected school board discussion about 2013, 2014, and I began to be involved in local school councils. And even then, following Mayor Raul Emanuel's closure and school actions against 50 schools, it became clear that the push for an elected school board was more important than ever. Mm-hmm. And the debate began from there. It wasn't until under Mayor Lori Lightfoot that, led by Senator Rob Martwick, led a coalition between union staff, union members, the mayor's staff, and the mayor's office, and they devised a plan after years of lobbying and years of compromise to reach an agreement where there would be 20 districts with a mechanism that 10 members would be appointed and 10 members would be elected. And it was a phased-in approach to help receive the support from Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who at the time had full appointment of the full board and was interested in keeping at least some of that power.
And the CTU, they wanted the full board elected?
So originally, I think the fight has been for a fully elected board, in total from the start, fully elected. It was because of those negotiations that I think Senator Martwick was able to steer and lead very skillfully, that it resulted in a law that was able to get passed. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anybody saw the law as the perfect law, but it was a law that was able to get passed. Mm-hmm. And so now it does seem like, with that history lesson, with knowing that the debate was between the former mayor and a large coalition of representatives, senators, and school district representatives, the union. Now it's, now the interesting parties, I think there's still a lot that people are trying on. The only trick is we're running out of time.
Exactly.
There's a map that needs to be drawn. Without the map drawn, you can't have petitions written or circulated. So you can't have candidates file, and you can't run. And you're talking about an election that is 10 months away, and I find it no wonder that I'm the only one throwing his hat in the ring. I'm very determined and very passionate that I know it. That I'll be the leader that my district needs, but how unfair it is for everyone else who's weighing their own candidacy and is unable to do so. And I think this latest, from what I read in the Sun-Times, throws another wrinkle in what looked to be another Met compromise. So, I'll be eating the popcorn as well.
Let's clarify a little bit about those 21 seats. 21. So 10 are going to be elected and 11 are going to be appointed. But once it's fully elected, what about number 21? Is number 21 also going to be elected or appointed?
Yeah, so the initial compromise was that it would phase in. So the person who is that 21st member is citywide. That was meant to be a holdover that the mayor would appoint that person. Then it would phase in that that person would then run a citywide seat, citywide election.
Oh, so that person would first serve for how many years and then run again to keep his or her seat? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's and that's the other thing too is the compromise law has a phase-in approach, and when the assumption is you're going to phase in a certain amount of representatives first, and then a couple years later you're going to swear in the rest of the representatives. That means that by delaying this timeline, you're then pushing off all future probabilities of their successful transition to elected seats. So I'm hopeful that the stakeholders are able to come together and however they decide is the best course of action, I'm hopeful they do their homework and find that answer quick.
Refresh us again. What is the length of a term for everybody?
That's a great. So my understanding is that it'd be 2-year cycles with 4 years cycled in between. But with that said, that changes if you're having some districts not be elected from the beginning and some districts are appointed from the beginning. Does that mean that somebody who comes in the following the represented seat, the appointed represented seat, comes in, are they then serving a 2-year term while the person who've already served a 2-year term is now sitting another 4-year term, thereby giving one representative district 6 full years of elected representation, with another district only getting 2?
So the rules are not in place yet.
Not in place.
And the map is not in place yet.
Right. I think the only thing that is in place is the petition number. I think it's 250 signatures.
250.
But obviously you don't know who would be able to sign your petition if you don't know their address relates to your district.
I would imagine that, and I don't know, nobody knows, I would imagine that the district would be some sort of radius around where you're currently residing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being very proactive as possible. I was the first to announce, I believe, just because I believe wholeheartedly that, I have a message to bring and a leadership to offer the school board, and I'm not taking chances. I'm not wasting time. To me, if the district is, from the north end of my neighborhood straight down to the south end, or maybe it's the east end straight to the west end, either way, I'm going to assume that my precinct and the precinct right next to my precinct will probably be in my district. So I've already started, I've knocked on doors, I've laid flyers, hosted house parties to bring people together to talk and learn about the campaign. Because the last thing I want to know is that, there was an opportunity to have great leadership in a school board, and then to think, oh, the deadline's here, nobody did anything, now what? I just don't think that now what is a conclusion anybody wants to see.
And you're the one who's taking this very seriously. I can't name one other candidate that's currently campaigning. You're active every day. We're looking at your Facebook posts, and we've attended some of your house parties, so we're very well informed at what you're doing. So how is your campaign going right now?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm having a great time. It started the way I think a campaign should. I did a lot of deep soul searching, and I talked to family and friends, and then I talked to people who I thought would support me. And after gathering, a coalition of set of responses, I just wrote a letter, and I shared it around with as many residents of my community as I could. And I've just been determined to keep up the momentum. We've contacted over 2,000 voters in the nearby areas, and I have no plan on slowing down. Starting to recruit more volunteers. More volunteers come on, the more voters you can reach in a shorter amount of time. So, I'm doing everything I can. I'm putting a website together, emailing out, texting, phone texting. Really, just this is an opportunity that I don't think the city should miss.
We've been sitting in, Trudy and I have been sitting in on endorsement sessions for many candidates for the upcoming election. And they get these, I know for a fact, they get these addresses from the Chicago Board of Elections or the Board of Elections. But you're not even on that list, are you?
For candidates?
Yeah.
No. There is, so I have a committee, a political committee. You need it to fundraise legally. So, documenting all fundraising reports, I, just like anybody, went online and looked up my own report. And it says school board. It doesn't say School Board of Chicago. It just says school board. And that's the closest reference to a seat that I've seen.
It doesn't say School Board District 10.
Right.
And you need that on the top of your petition for it to be legal.
Right.
And to print them.
Right.
And to circulate. And to submit them. And who's the bottleneck here? Who's the bottleneck?
No, I don't know if that's a fair question. I think the bottleneck is the process. To me, the answer, I think we are making things more complicated than I think we need to. Right now I see one side is 10 appointed, the other side is 10 elected. Just do 10 districts then, each gets one elected and one appointed. And, to me, it's just a matter of, it's time to buckle down. And, you can't have a process where half the district is appointed and half the district is represented, because then you have a taxation without why does one seat get to have representation while their neighbor doesn't? And that's a very dangerous argument. And I believe in my heart that I don't think Springfield wants to question that judgment. If I can vote on my school board seat, my neighbor should be able to vote on theirs.
Who is benefiting by stalling on this map? Are they who would benefit from a map being drawn in a certain way?
Yeah, I think that's a fascinating question, because I can imagine a lot of people benefiting from different maps, and a lot of different special interest. A map that continues to promote divestment from schools on the west and south sides of Chicago, a map that does that may actually be favored by certain privatization clauses who want to see weaker public school system. So to me, it's very nuanced. But I hope that when they are extending the invitations to whom is at the table making this decision, that they look around and wonder if it's the same faces or not.
Same faces as the constituents, as the people that are sitting at the table, is what you mean?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a very valid discussion and debate. To me, that means more people should be involved in it.
Speaking of special interests, the article, and you have said that the Chicago Teachers Union, the CTU, have been very active in this race. Have you reached out to the CTU?
My gosh, do I love the teachers. Yeah, I've known CTU leadership for years. with pleasure. I remember a rallying call around Karen Lewis fighting against Rahm Emanuel before her untimely retirement from the scene. So I have utmost respect for CTU and the members who I know. I have not heard back one way or another on what thoughts or feelings they may have. I don't know, whether I should read into that or not. But I think they are what they, I think Davis Gates mentioned it very perfectly. They're an organizing union. They organize, and they do it extremely well. And I think Chicago, as a whole, should respect that they fight for their members, and they fight for their members very well. And when it comes to a policy that benefits their members, for good reason, that's the policy that CTU leadership will put forth. I don't know how much more directly I can request any sort of conversation than I already have. So either nobody's having a conversation or people who are not me are having the conversation. But like I said, I still have, just utmost respect. Teachers within their profession just do amazing work, and teachers as organizing power, they've won their races.
And they also mentioned that this delay is delaying the election rules. So what election rules are we talking about, and have you seen any election rules?
No, I mean, I have not. I don't even know what else could be possible, because not knowing when the election will be, how much time, if they're going back to the base, if they're going back to the drawing board on so many things, and they haven't drawn the map, who's to say, let's just delay and write another map? And then, I don't know if there's a strong enough presence to know one way or the other right now. And to me, the clock is ticking.
They're trying, they have a preliminary map, but who knows if that map is going to stick?
Yeah, I've seen a couple maps. The Senate released theirs. That was a complete map, but it was 20 districts. And it was thought to be the Senate's final draft. This obviously kind of throws, some flavor in that debate. But the map that I saw had my immediate neighborhood, which is the Edgewater neighborhood, cycled down essentially Foster Avenue. If you're familiar with the north side going west, Foster Avenue down to the neighborhood known as Lincoln Square.
Okay.
So it would be Edgewater and Lincoln Square.
And the lake?
No. The map I saw ends. The map I saw ends at my block. It doesn't go to the map, the lake.
What?
It goes to I think the 2 blocks around me.
So it looks like a gerrymandered kind of map.
Yeah, I mean, they all do.
It's not square. It's all these zigzaggy snakes and things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think one nonprofit put together a map that was least zigzaggy, and it was based off of the boundaries of the wards. It's a little, in my opinion, that map is problematic too, because not every ward has the same amount of schools within each ward.
What nonprofit was that? Do you remember?
No. If you go, so on the Chicago Board of Education, they actually have a great website, believe it or not. And they were receiving, they published a lot of proposals that were shared with them and presented at meetings. So they were there. And it was very cool to just click through them to show the community engagement. And I think that's why this is so important, because now is the time, now is when the community's, there's some energy, there's eagerness.
We're excited about
it.
It's a historical election, and it's a historic election, and we're very excited about it. And you're going to be on the ballot, and we just don't know any definitive details about this.
Yeah.
What, so the Chicago board that's been appointed, they meet now. How often do they meet?
That's a good question, because there's the quarterly meetings as the board. I don't know about, the different committees that they sit, because when you catch everything online, they're organized. I think the committees are monthly now, but the board meetings are the ones I try and catch most. And unfortunately, one thing that I don't like is that everything's during business hours. When you're welcoming public participation, you need to allow public to get there. So I've caught many meetings online, and unfortunately, scheduling these meetings mid work makes it difficult for everyone.
So if you wanted to speak at public comment at these meetings, you wouldn't be able to because you're at work.
Right. You, at the very most, you can submit something electronically. Yep.
Well, it's not as effective
Nope.
or as
Transparent.
Nope.
Yep, it's much more helpful if you were to actually speak with the board members face to face.
Yeah, and the ability, when you're at a meeting, that's where the vote is occurring. You deserve that final effort to persuade the vote. Absolutely.
Well, hopefully, when you're elected, and then we have the board, you could maybe help change that so that more of the public could attend your meetings.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not just the timing, but public participation should go first on the agenda. There's no reason to make parents wait.
Many of the board meetings we go to, including the CTA, the public comment is first. Right at the very beginning, so everyone gets a chance to speak, and they don't have to sit through go through the weeds with all the finance and the other committees. And in my opinion, it's better that way.
And it's mentioned that board members are not going to be paid. So all this work that you're doing, you're not going to be paid. Was there an understanding before that you were going to get paid, and now it's changed?
Actually, no. It's a state law. There's no school board paid in the state. This is another school board in the state. So the logic is that it's an unpaid position. I do believe there may be parents who would be terrific supporters, who won't be representatives who won't be able to serve because they won't be able to support their family and the opportunity at the same time. I think that's a very real consideration on why this Chicago School Board should be paid. We are multitudes larger than all other school districts, with a lot more to do. Meeting with principals across the entire district. That's up to 10 schools with 3 high schools. There's a lot that would be expected of volunteers. That's for sure. But
Yes.
I've not been under any presumption that it would be a paid position.
And then there's going to be all the budgeting, everything that you have to oversee. What else would you be overseeing? Let's get a little job description in the last minute and a half that we have.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's overlooked that the Chicago Board of Education not only is in charge of defining curricula, defining schedules, defining breaks, defining planning hours for teachers, and that goes into the contracts. We're talking about a entity that, if worked right, it can set the temperature and direction for the city of Chicago through an entire student's lifespan in the school district. So that's from kindergarten all the way to senior year of high school. That's a long period of time where, with the proper investments in the schools themselves and the students that attend them, the teachers that are working, you can reshape the entire city. And I think that's the chance that we could miss.
Daniel Stevem Kleinman, if our viewers want to learn more about you, where should they go, and how could they even contact you? Maybe you're a very intriguing candidate. Maybe they want to contact you. Please give them your information.
Thank you. Yes. Visit me at VoteDaniel, VoteDaniel.us. U.S. You can volunteer, learn more about me, click on all the links. We'll be there.
Thank you so much. This is Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. And of course, this is Daniel Stevem Kleinman, who is going to be running for Chicago School Board, the elected Chicago School Board. This has been Community Unity Now. We thank you so much for watching and see you again next week.